So in this episode, we take a look at some of the gameplay footage for Blair Witch the Game. Let's get started. So if you're unaware, Blair Witch the video game will be coming out later this month for the Xbox and PC. And we have some official gameplay footage. Let's take a look. So Bullet is actually the dog, and if you pay attention to his behavior, he'll actually warn you about a whole bunch of stuff that's going on that you can't see. Now there is about 11 minutes of this footage. We're not going to go through the whole thing, but we are going to take a look at some of the more important parts of it. Basically what happened is you stumbled across some footage, and that footage shows people going missing, and he's actually using that footage to go and hunt them down to see what happened to them. Now with this footage, you can actually fast forward, rewind, pause it, do it wherever you want to go as far as the camcorder footage goes. Unlike a lot of other video games where you have to play it and go through the whole damn thing, this actually allows you to control it so you can find those key moments. So such as that you're at a particular house, you can go to a key moment in that footage and see, hey, they went in this particular door, which is now locked. It's actually a pretty cool idea. So here we can see the dog has actually found something. And it's kind of spooking our sole player here.
Bullet, up.
Now, as you can see, we're back into the woods just like we were in the original Blair Witch. And regardless of what a lot of you say, Blair Witch was really badass. And the way they promoted it was unlike anything ever heard of. So it was more of an experience at the time. And if you weren't alive back then to actually experience it when it was back in the more rare theaters, the more private theaters before it got released theatrically, then you really don't grasp or understand how kick-ass this actually was.
Bullet, run.
Of course, back then they didn't have a lot of found footage videos either, so if you go today and you start watching all these found footage videos and you go back to Blair Witch, it probably doesn't hold up as well. But it really was at the time really badass, and for those of you that were alive back then that went through that experience, it holds up to today because you remember the experience. Now as far as the game looks, the game actually looks very similar to the movie in the sense that we're in the woods trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Now they're not lost as much as the characters were in the movie, but he is actually trying to find out what happened to these lost people. I mean, kind of, if we look at some of the things such as the type of dog he owns, the way he's moving about, how clever the character actually is, I would almost take a guess and say he might be ex-military as well. That would be my guess. Now, it almost looked like there was commands for the dogs to tell him to go places, to pet him. Yeah, we can see this right now. The dog will come there. This is very cool, the interaction with the dog. I've actually not seen anything like this. We almost have like an emote wheel like we have in Friday the 13th, the game, except for the emotes are more for the dog interaction than they are for you to sit there and do your own little personal selfish taunts and shit, you know? I think that's really cool. I kind of like that idea. Now, one of the things I am worried about with this is the fact that will it hold up? Yes, we have all these cool little features. We have these jump scares and things like that. And they're going to probably utilize it with the camera because when you have the camcorder, that's how you see the witch or the demons, however you want to put it. But will those jump scares hold up or will they get played out after a while, such as Last Year the Nightmare? The thing with the respawns made the game very played out and repetitive. The fact that you couldn't permanently kill people made it very repetitive and played out very quickly. Is this going to be kind of the same scenario where we have the same jump scares over and over and over again? We're doing the same tools and utilizing the same motions over and over and over again. And is it going to get played out or will it hold up? Kind of like BioShock. It held up because the story pushed it along so well and so perfectly, it made the game phenomenal. This is kind of my questions, and we're going to see this pretty shortly, less than 2 weeks actually. I'll be doing a live stream on this, and we'll find out exactly does it hold up. Now here's that footage I was talking about where he stopped it. He came across the camcorder. Now, being that they're using kind of an old school camcorder, I'm going to safely say that maybe this is the late 90s, in the 2000s, around there. because it almost looks like it's one of those side vertical camcorders. At least that's what I'm seeing. I may have missed something talking to you all. Now, of course, the other thing may be, will it hold up in the live stream? Because me playing it and interacting and you all watching it might be two different scenarios. But, you know, we'll see what happens. And yes, I will have it on the PC as well. So the graphics will be pushed to the max. So if you're watching the stream, don't expect those graphics to be what they're going to be like on console. Now we hear Ellis having a little bit of a sigh going on there, as if almost maybe she's detecting something. What I'm kind of interested about, though, this is already irking me just a little bit, and I'm going to tell you my problem right now. They're in abandoned cabins right now, an abandoned area, yet there's still electricity and lights. I don't know why that is, but here we go. See how they're rewinding, fast forwarding, pausing, trying to find those key precise moments in the video to utilize that, almost like a game of Clue, but a little bit more in depth. So you can see he's rewinding it, trying to find out exactly play by play what happened to him to make sure it's that specific area, and they're going to use that clue to go to that specific target of that house. That's just where he was standing. There's the door. And now he's going to pull out and he's going to go through that exact moment. Or at least I would assume he would, should he choose to do that, right? Now here we have some of the writing on the wall. And we got to try to look at this from two different aspects. We're looking at it through the camcorder and we're looking at it through it on the left. I guess it's not a vertical camcorder. It's a normal Sony camcorder. This looks like the late 90s if I look at the model style of camcorder. I know it doesn't say Sony because they don't have the rights probably for that, but that is what the Sony camcorder looked like in the late 90s. It had the 4.3 box. It had the silver with the black. That was one of their models. We have some lightning going on. That's a great environment. I love lightning, obviously. You all know that, considering the one who pushed the idea for having rain and lightning in Friday the 13th, the game.
Locked.
It just adds that whole horror aspect. Now here we are up in an old moldy room where everything's rotted, falling apart. Which, trust me, due to some of these skits that I've done recently, I've gone into places like this, and it's somewhat accurate to this. I think it's a little bit more dusty and a little bit more squishy because the rain comes through the ceiling and the floor squishes. But, I mean, look-wise, it's pretty close, I'd say. It's kind of an interesting way that they utilize the camcorder because they heavily utilize the camcorder, obviously in Blair Witch the movie, because that was the whole perspective, the perspective of the actual people in the forest through the camcorder. So the fact that we have to utilize the camcorder through the game feels very like the Blair Witch. It's very well done, I think. And of course, we're actually seeing the creature. I don't really care for that. I always preferred not to see the creature. And I know the original script, they were going back and forth on showing the actual witch in Blair Witch the movie, and they decided against it, mainly more so they're having an argument with a studio that was funding them. But again, I think if we keep seeing these creatures, it's not going to feel so Blair Witch as much as it would just a regular horror game. So I still feel like maybe it would have been cool to see a ghost figure, kind of like the skit I did for the Blair Witch giveaway. Yes, that's right, I'm giving away copies of Blair Witch the game. If you don't know about it, click that link right there, or click the link down in the description below. We'll be doing that giveaway during the live stream when I'm showing Blair Witch the game. And kind of the way I did it, I felt like that was the right way of doing it. But of course, this might be biased. I don't know. Let me know down in the comment section below if I'm being biased. But just like a slight offset figure is what I kind of showed. And that was kind of the way I would like to have seen it. Utilizing it that way. Continuously showing us this big creature. That's getting too demonic in my mind. I don't feel like that's so much Witch, and I feel like what captured it for me with Blair Witch was the fact that they never showed it. Kind of like the way that Jaws was so kick-ass in the beginning. They never showed the shark until they needed to. And I feel like that might be something that may get this game to be played out. Just seeing this creature trying to utilize jump scares way too much. And that's not so much what Blair Witch was about. It wasn't about the jump scares as much as it was like, well, what the hell is going on? Are these people that are fucking with us, or is this an actual creature, a demonic possession, a witch? What is happening? And that kind of leaves us up and actually leaves us slightly wondering at the end. That's what made that movie so good. And I think they might be missing the mark just a little bit based on this footage. Well, there's the handprints from the end of the Blair Witch where it was all over the house because of the kids that they had taken. And of course, we can see some writing on the wall in the camcorder footage versus the actual wall itself. Now here we go. We can actually see a demon. I want to say Blair Witch because it's the Blair Witch, but it's not the Blair Witch. I bet you it's just some demonic creature. So they can't see it. He's trying to sneak around, which I don't think is going to work. And then we see it, and it's not so scary because we see it. And it's just this weird thing with branches is what it looks like. So after taking a look at all that gameplay footage, yes, there are some pros and cons. And yes, I am a little bit worried that they may have screwed this up just a little bit, but also in a good way at the same time. So some of the pros, obviously, we're going through the camcorder to utilize some of the footage and see the demons or Blair Witch, however you want to put it. I don't know how much that was the Blair Witch. It looked a little bit more demonic to me. But that was the same way we did it in the movie, was they showed it through the perspective of the people in the woods. So the camcorder utilization is awesome. That's a pro, right? We have another pro. We have some of the hands. However, I feel like they should have utilized the hands to try to tell us where to go, more so than showing us these weird creatures and shit like that. Also showing us these demons. Again, I don't really utilize them as the Blair Witch because they're consistent and they don't really look like what the Blair Witch was portrayed to be. It will almost look more demonic in this game. And I feel like they're utilizing them way too much. Again, the Blair Witch we didn't really know what it was. Was it people screwing with them? Was it a creature? Was it the Blair Witch? Was it demonic? We never knew. Even at the end, we truly didn't really know. Of course, we could kind of have the implication that, yes, it was the Blair Witch possessing them, and that's what happened to them. Okay, here it's just a bunch of jump scares. It looks like they took elements, kind of like World War Z. Like they took elements from the movie. In this instance, it would be the camcorder. In World War Z, it would be the zombies piling up, and that was pretty much it. That was the only distinction. And that's kind of what I feel like here. We're in the woods. We have a camcorder. There's some handprints. I feel like that's the only really thing that they're putting in, and then they're trying to make it more of just a horror game with using these bits and pieces in order to say, hey, this is the Blair Witch. However, again, I haven't played it. I can't say 100% sure. I'm going based on what I see in the gameplay footage. And I really hope that's not the case. I hope this is a fun game that's not going to get played out with overdoing the jump scares and just showing us these weird creatures, which didn't really mean anything in the movie. And yes, I'm talking about part 1 because that's the only one that was worth a damn. Part 2, I didn't care for that much. It wasn't the same style movie. It was just offsetting. I didn't like it. And the remake, don't even get me started on that. Really didn't like that. I put that in the same category as the remake of Evil Dead, where it wasn't complete trash, but it wasn't anything I would go out and buy. Okay, and if I don't buy it, then I don't find it really good. All right, you have to get me. You have to get me in the mood to say this is a really good movie to go and buy it, because I only buy things on 4K UHD, so they're like $30 plus, and it's got to be good to do so. So with all that said, that's where my mind is on this. I feel like they could have utilized this a little bit more in the aspect of, not showing us the creatures, but showing us kind of a ghostly figure or a light figure maybe, and utilize that as jump scares, not these full-blown creatures, which have nothing to do with Blair Witch. I don't really understand that part, but okay. I understand that they're trying to up it. It's a video game. Things have to change. They can't be like a movie, because if we're just walking around in the woods, lost, it's going to get boring as a game. Now, this could get repetitive and boring as a game as well, but we will find out later this month when it's released. I will be doing a live stream right here on this channel with some of the gameplay footage. Yes, that's right. I'll also be giving away copies of Blair Witch the game during that live stream. If you have not signed up for that, go ahead and click that link down in the description below, or click that little eye icon in the upper left corner of this video, and there will be a drop down giving you a link to that video as well. Now, how this will hold up in a live stream is also another question I have, because playing a game and watching a game don't always go hand in hand. Friday the 13th is fun to watch, right? Last year, The Nightmare can be fun to watch for a limited amount of time. But watching somebody use clues and scavenge through the woods, it may not be that entertaining in live stream. But we'll find out. We'll see what happens later this month. But I want your thoughts are down in the comment section below. Do you think that this game has a lot of promise and potential, or do you think that they're trying to utilize these creatures that don't necessarily have too much to do with the Blair Witch in order to push too many jump scares and might make it a little too repetitive? Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit notification box if you don't know if I have kick-ass shit such as this. And be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, because 150 likes on this video will get you another Blair Witch video on this channel. Also, don't forget, merch link down in the description below. Eat, sleep, / repeat the 4 essentials for any horror fan. And don't forget to join us in Discord, because that's where we are having a kick-ass time in there. And as always, don't get lost in the woods. No, seriously, don't fucking do it. There's ticks and a whole bunch of more scarier shit than the Blair Witch. And I'll see you next time.